All righty, welcome back in. It is the Zach Gelb Show. The American Century Championship is right around the corner. It's the 36th annual championship of celebrity golf. The tournament has raised over $8 million for charity, and it's airing with coverage on the Golf Channel, Peacock, and NBC, July 11th to the 13th. $750,000 in prize money at stake, and you can check out the American Century Fantasy Golf Contest at www.accfantasygolf.com. And now joining us is the Pro Football Hall of Famer, Jerome Bettis, as the bus once again makes a stop on the Zach Gelb Show. Bus, appreciate it. Always great to see you. How you been?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So give me the scouting report. We all knew what you were as a running back. You were physical, right? You were punishing. You knew how to get in the end zone. How were you as a golfer?
I will, if I had to give the scouting report, I would say he is average off the tee, not super long, but in play, solid iron game, strong short game, really good putter. So that's the
now here's the thing. So I'm a big guy, and everyone expects me to be crazy off the tee, and I've become better driving the ball. But I'm really good with my short game as well, and I think people hold that against us big guys because they expect us to hit 300 yards off the tee every time.
Yeah, so they think that we got bricks for hands, right? Oh, you got soft hands. Well, hello. So I think that's the one misconception, right? That we can't be good around the greens and the good putter, all of that. And then the driver, everybody thinks that because we're big guys that we can just unload on it. But what you find out is the harder you try to go at it, the more uncontrollable the ball becomes. And so if you just kind of stay within yourself, you keep yourself on the golf course, right, and in the fairway, you give yourself a better chance to score. So that's been my philosophy.
I just try to hit 225, 240, right down the middle. If I take an aggressive swing, I go, wow, I got it. And then all the way, it's on like the eighth hole when I'm on the first hole all the way to the right. So we're in lockstep there. Jerome Bettis with us. Yeah. Hey, I was at the NBA draft last night. Obviously, you got drafted in the NFL to the Rams in 1993. What do you remember about draft day for you?
It was a special day because, I got a chance to celebrate that day with my mom, my dad, my family. Everybody was there. We were in New York. It was just a electric time. We had seen, you've seen it in the past, and now it's your turn, right? So that was the idea of it. We were pretty comfortable in terms of where we were going to go, what range. So we weren't we're super nervous that we were going to drop or anything like that. So we were excited about that moment, that process. So it's really now become even much of a bigger thing. All these guys are decked out, and I was off the rack with my clothes. So if I had a chance to do it all over again, it'd be a little bit different.
Yeah, I would say you could have got a big name, image, and likeness deal with whatever suit you would have worn. It would have been awesome. So clearly, we remember you as a Pittsburgh Steeler, and you got traded there from the Rams when they wanted to change your position and all that stuff. When you look back at it, have you ever thought about what would have been of your career and how you would have been talked about if you never ended up landing with the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Yeah, I do think about it from time to time. I know it would have been a challenge for me, but I felt comfortable and felt good about what my abilities and what I was capable of. But I think a lot of times, when you look at players, they have these great careers. It's a big part of where they went, what team they played for. So had I not gone to Pittsburgh, I think, it may be a different story. I probably would have had a good career, maybe not a great career, maybe not a Hall of Fame career. So I think it takes two from that standpoint. It takes a really great player and a great organization for them to come together to create magic. And I think sometimes you have really good situations, and you look at Saquon Barkley. He was with a good organization, the Giants, they were good. Got with Philly and bang, right? And so now you see something really special. And had he stayed in New York, we would probably say, oh, he's a good player. He was a really good player in his career, but they never won anything, right? And you go away saying, oh, he was a good player. Now you look at him and say, whoa, this guy is special. We thought he could be special in New York, but now it's been realized. And I think that's the difference.
And we know the Giants have won a lot in their history, but the last decade has been a disaster. You look at the Steelers, they've never bottomed out, but we're not talking about the Cleveland Browns. We're talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers. The expectation is to win a Super Bowl, and this is an organization that has not won a playoff game since the 2016 season. What's your current view on the standard and the way that things are going in Pittsburgh?
Well, the standard has already been set. Now it's up to each team to get to that standard. They haven't met that standard. And so they understand that. And so that's why they're doing all the things they could possibly do to try to keep themselves in striking distance, really, of that standard. But it's an uphill battle because I think right now they're in a situation where they got this really playoff caliber defense, and they're trying to find a way to keep this offense relevant enough where it can be good enough to support this really, really good defense and this group of guys that the clock is ticking, right? So I think this last move to try to get Aaron Rodgers, is one of those, opportunities. They say, hey, we saw what we had with the other two guys. It didn't work. We want to give it one more swing. But I really believe after this, they've got to say to themselves, we got to go out and get a young quarterback and develop him. I think this is that last opportunity. And I think Aaron Rodgers has really helped them in that. He said, hey, it's a one-year situation. So now they look at it from a one-year perspective, right? And they can think, well, next year we can be planning for next year now. And I think that's kind of the silver lining in all of this Aaron Rodgers scenario. It's a one-year scenario. What are we going to do next year? We can start building that plan out right now.
The thing, though, with the future of Rodgers, and you're right, he even said the other day this is basically a one-year thing. Guy hasn't been great, though, for 3 years. I know he had an injury one year that wiped him out for the entire season. Last year was a disaster with the Jets. And even before that in Green Bay, his career basically ended with him throwing an interception there and getting knocked out by the Lions. Do you still think this guy, he's an all-time great quarterback, but do you still think he could be a great quarterback in the year of 2025?
I think he can be a good quarterback. I don't think you need him to be a great quarterback. I think if the Steelers need him to be a great quarterback, they've got, misconceptions, and it's going to be a really, really, really bad year for them. I think they understand that they've got to protect him. They've got to have a really good offensive line. In having a good offensive line, that means you're going to really have a good running game as well if the offensive line is really good. So I think the idea is to have a really good running game coupled with the offensive line being able to protect Aaron enough where you can see some of his greatness. If you expect him to be the guy that's the MVP of the league, that's not going to happen. But I do believe he's got an opportunity on a really good football team, and they're not asking him to do too much.
Wrap it up with the Pro Football Hall of Famer, Jerome Bettis. How about that running back room? I know you're a big fan of Najee Harris. He's no longer there. He's with the Chargers. Jaylen Warren is now going to get more on his plate, and they drafted Caleb Johnson. What's your current assessment of this running back room?
I'm a fan of Caleb Johnson, watched him in Iowa. Warren, always thought he was really good. He was a one-cut downhill guy. I think he can really be effective getting, obviously more opportunity. So I like what they're doing in the backfield. Again, it's going to be all predicated around that offensive line. Can they run the football? Can they pound some people? I think if they can be that Steelers, that traditional powerhouse that wants to run the football, then you can sprinkle in that passing game, the play action game. Now you allow Aaron Rodgers to be special because you're not asking him to throw the ball 40 times. Now I think you've got something that you can put on display. I don't know if it's a championship or a Super Bowl caliber team, but I know it's going to be a competitive team because they've always been there.
Yeah, the way that I look at this, if they want this Rodgers thing to be successful, I think they need to win a playoff game this year. I think they're a fringe playoff team. I think it could go either way, but they got to break this streak since 2016, that final year where they won a playoff game. They got to win a playoff game for this thing to look back and say, hey, it was worth it.
I agree with you. They got to win a playoff game, and I think that would send Aaron Rodgers off on a much different light, because I think the years with the Jets, that debacle, and if it doesn't go well with the Steelers, then you're thinking of that as you mention his name, when you really shouldn't, because his body of work is undeniable. But we all have a tendency to think about, what have you done for me lately? And the latest would not be good. So I think a playoff win would definitely be a success when you think about the Aaron Rodgers project.
How about Mike Tomlin? There's a large portion of the fan base that they all acknowledge he's a good coach, but they think that the organization needs a new voice. What do you say to people that think that maybe Tomlin's seat should be on fire right now?
Yeah, I would say if you fire him, he becomes the number one best candidate. I mean, that's just the reality of it. He's really a really good coach. And if you're saying he's the reason that they don't have a quarterback at that position, then you've got to say you don't know anything about football. He's not picking the talent there. What they have to do, in my humble opinion, if they got to package a couple first-round picks and they've got to trade and go get a quarterback, maybe not the number one guy in that draft. Next year there's supposed to be 3 or 4 quarterbacks that they think are really good. Maybe you don't get the first number one, but the second or third guy, you go out and try to get, much like the Ben Roethlisberger situation. He was the third best quarterback in that draft from a drafting perspective. So maybe not the first guy, but you got to go out and get a young guy, develop him. And I believe that's the only way you're going to have that long-term success.
Would you have preferred them to bring back Fields this year and just go with him instead of trying out this Aaron Rodgers experiment?
No, I think you saw what people don't understand is he was in the building every single day. They got a chance to see him every single day. When they made the decision not to bring him back, it was clearly something that they saw that they said we can live without. And I think that's what you have to look at. It is not an indictment on him. He may go in New York and have success, and I hope he does, actually. But it was just something that they said, nah, it's not for us, right? Because you have to think, if you keep him, are you willing next year to give him a $150 million contract, right? So you got to ask yourself, do we keep him here and make this commitment? Do we see enough to make that commitment? And if the answer is no, you say, you know what? We move on and try to find the next opportunity.
Hey, I want to ask you about Notre Dame, too, while we have you here, Jerome Bettis. It was a wonderful season last year. I love what Jeremiyah Love does as a running back. He has big expectations headed into this season. He told me midway through the season last year, he thinks when he's at his best, he could be one of the best players in college football and win the Heisman Trophy. You got to love what you're seeing as long as he's healthy out of Jeremiyah Love.
Absolutely. He is a stud. And
he's your type of running back, right?
He is, because not only is he explosive and dynamic, but he's physical. He's not afraid to run in between the tackles. And I think that's what I love about him and his ability, what he can do. So I'm really excited about what he brings to the table this coming year, because I think they're going to have a really good football team. They got a really good offensive line, and I think Jeremiyah Love will be able to go out there and make some things happen. And whoever wins that quarterback battle, I think now you have something really good, because I think the quarterbacks, that's going to be the big question mark. And while they're figuring that out, it gives Jeremiyah Love an opportunity to go out and have some huge games early in the season.
What is it like for your son to be there? Just wondering through your view.
It's pretty cool. I will say that, because obviously, my history there and really wanting him to experience that on two different levels. One, from an academic standpoint, but also from athletically, I want him to go out and just be the best player he can possibly be and let the chips fall where they may, right? So as a dad, I'm excited to see him come out of the tunnel with that helmet on so that he'll know what it feels like, because in the back of my head, I'm thinking, man, this is a great moment. So to be able to watch him do it, it's going to be so fun.
Do you get more nervous when you were playing or when you watch him play?
Clearly watching him play. When I played, I thought, I was invincible, right? No problem. But watching your son play, every time you get tackled, you get up. All right, no problem. You see him limping. Oh, what's wrong? Is his ankle? It's like you go through so many emotions just on every single play. And I think, that's to my detriment, because having played, I'm so in tune to it. I'm looking at the smallest things and trying to get a read off of that. So maybe I need, as a dad, to take a step back, but it's just so hard.
You're one of us now. That's it. Now you're seeing what it's like as a football fan when we go through each and every Saturday and Sunday.
Exactly.
Before we let you run, just circling right back, Jerome Bettis, the Pro Football Hall of Famer, here with us to the Steelers. There's a lot out there with TJ Watt, and everyone's waiting for this contract to get done. Micah Parsons in a similar boat. We just saw Myles Garrett get paid. Obviously, the Bengals are trying to figure out their situation with Trey Hendrickson. What do you look for in this TJ Watt situation with the Steelers? Are you confident that they'll get a deal done with him?
Yeah, I'm confident they'll get a deal done with him. He's a generational talent. The Steelers they're not going to let a guy like him leave the organization. I think he's one of those guys that he'll retire Pittsburgh Steeler. He's been that great, that much of an impact. And he's still an incredible football player. So I do believe that it'll get done. They just got to figure out a number everybody can be happy with and go forward.
All righty, Bus, before we let you run, you're making a stop at this American Century Championship. What are you looking forward to? It's always a great event. For more information, once again, www.accfantasygolf.com.
I'm just excited to be there to compete. For me, the competition is not really against some of the guys, because there's going to be some great players there. And I don't, think that I'm in that class in terms of the Steph Currys of the world, Tony Romo, Marty Fish, those guys that have won the event before. But my goal is to be the best I can possibly be. And I think my highest finish is 15th. So if I can beat that, then it'll be a successful week for me. So that's my goal, to go out there and be the best version of myself I can possibly be.
To get to 15 in that top 5, I think you got to talk some smack. You got to play little mental games with people.
Well, I got to play the mental game with myself, because I got to get to a certain number. You know what I mean? It's like, you can talk smack all you want, but you got to produce, because if you're not making any birdies, you're gonna get lapped. You know what I mean? Because some really good players out there.
I don't know. You just say maybe to Steph, hey, Magic's better, to Romo. How'd it go on that snap? And you just bring that stuff up and you see how they handle it.
How about them Cowboys? I can say that to Romo.
Boss, always great to catch up with you. Thanks so much for doing this.
Thanks for having me.
All right, there he is.
All clear, Jerome. Thanks for joining us.
Annual championship of Celebrity Golf, the American Century Championship. And the tournament is airing on the Golf Channel, Peacock, and NBC from July 11th to July 13th. You can check out the American Century Fantasy Golf Contest at www.accfantasygolf.com.